What's good? Yo, this year has been a weird year, and this year has definitely been a year that's been kind of disappointing to a lot of us, but you guys don't know what one of my biggest disappointments were. One of my biggest disappointments was that we weren't able to have camp this year. So if y'all don't know about how camp is done, I know camp is done different in different places, but the camp that I went to, Appalachian District Summer Camp, was done in a very specific way that was different and that was interesting and that I loved. You know what? I was reminiscing about it today as I was talking about this online camp that we're doing this year. And I was thinking, I was like, what are some things that I miss about camp? So here are 10 things that I miss about camp. And when I talk about this, some of it is going to be from the perspective of a person who's now a worker at the camp. But then some of it is going to be from the perspective of someone who used to go to the camp also. So you guys are going to kind of see two different sides of it. So I'm just going to talk about 10 things, might be more, but right now I'm just thinking it's just 10. First thing that I miss about camp is definitely the independence. Like, I don't think you guys understood, like, when I was in middle school and high school and I was going to these camps, well, actually, I more went in high school. I stopped going a little bit in middle school. I went in elementary school and I stopped going in middle school, and then I came back to start going again in high school. But either way, one of the things that I miss, one of the things that I loved so much about camp when I was younger was that you had this freedom. You felt like a man. Okay, you got to do what you wanted to do. Okay, like, yes, you had your schedule. Yes, you had your advisors. Yes, you had to listen to the rules, blah, blah, blah. But you could still kind of do what you want. Like, you could kind of be the person that you always wanted to be because your parents aren't around. Like, you know, like, there were things that you had to do to stay in the rules and do things that were right. But like, you know, it was just different, you know? It was just a whole different thing when you could come onto a campus and just basically be you. Like, you didn't have to be your mama's boy. You didn't have to, like, you could just be you. And it was the most fun thing about it was that you were kind of free just to be who you wanted to be. Second thing that I miss about camp was the food. Okay? If y'all don't understand, camp food was the bomb. Like, but here's the thing, I will just have this little disclaimer, okay? When I say the food was bomb, I mean as a whole it was bomb. Like, not every single part of the food was good. I remember breakfast was like notorious for kind of being sucky. And I don't know why. I don't know why breakfast was the one. I guess it's because majority of the people that were cooking weren't morning people, so I'm sure that they just didn't put as much love and effort into it, you know? Or maybe it was just the type of brand of stuff that they use for their food for breakfast. I don't know. But I remember breakfast food was always meh. But lunch and dinner and this wonderful thing called Snack Shack. Oh my gosh. Snack Shack kind of went with the first thing that I said. Man, you sit there and you have this freedom because your parents gave you however much money that they gave you. My parents gave me the same amount of money each year, even though, you know, inflation and things got more expensive. My parents didn't care. They were like, you are gonna find and make way with $20. And you're gonna make way with $20 no matter what year it was. So when I was older in 2015, I still had $20. When I was a kid in kindergarten, I had $20. And like, it didn't really matter, you know? You were gonna work with $20. But I remember the only time that you had to use your money really was for Snack Shack. At Snack Shack, they had mozzarella sticks, they had cheese fries, they had cheeseburgers. I mean, let me tell you, the cheeseburgers, they just had a special mwah to them. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but they were just heavenly. And then they had nachos and all that type of stuff. But I was usually getting the cheese fries, the cheese sticks, the cheeseburger. And yes, of course, the bathroom was feeling it later. But I enjoyed it coming in. The food was delicious coming in. Number 3, when I was in camp, one of the things that I loved was just the relationship aspect of like having friends around that you can be able to be close to, you can be able to hang out with, and you can be able to just do random stuff with. And a lot of the times you were just sitting there just doing random stuff because, you know, not every moment at a camp is going to be like stock filled with all of these things to do. So they would just have random times that you could just, you know, just kind of sit there and just kind of enjoy like whatever is going on, just sitting there. Sometimes just sitting there was okay. Sometimes you just felt like, you know what? I just want to sit here with the bros, and I just want to sit here and just watch whatever is going on. And so you would just sit down and you'd be talking with your friends, y'all be laughing, y'all be figuring out stuff about each other, because a lot of the people that you were around weren't people that you were around on a regular basis. Like, they were people that you were only around once a year at camp. Like, you would see them and then you'd be like, oh yeah, but you live in like West Virginia, so we'll never be friends again. But for this week, we are friends. And so you would sit there and you'd be catching up. You'd be like, yo, what was this last year like? All this type of stuff. And it was fun. You were happy to have those moments with your friends. Number 4, and this one is from the advisor point of view. One thing that I always found interesting and that I always missed about camp was that every year there was always a camp relationship. There were always the peeps that were trying to go there to get girls' phone numbers and all that. And that did not change as time went on. The only thing that changed a little bit was that when I was in camp, it was more of you trying to get people's phone numbers. But then by the time that I got like, you know, later in high school, and then I became an advisor and I became a worker, it became people trying to get like people's Instagrams, trying to get people's Snapchats, and all that type of stuff. And it was always funny because you could always tell who were the guys that were there for that. You know, you could tell by the way that they, you know, did their hair. You could tell by the way that they, you know, they just put gel in their hair, cologne on. They were trying to do the most because they wanted all these girls to be paying attention to them. Some of these girls didn't really care about all that. Some of these girls were just trying to chill and do what they wanted to do. They didn't want to deal with your snot-nosed self, your sweaty self, doing crazy stuff. 5, I miss the hype. I miss all the craziness, all the shouting that was just there. About every year I lost my voice, and this is the thing. Why you would wonder, like you would think, like with someone with as loud as a voice as mine, that I wouldn't lose my voice, but every single year I lost my voice, and I didn't try to. It was just that you get so hyped, you'd be like, yeah, let's go, and then you would just lose your voice, and then it was, you know, it was too late. Like I come back and like everyone's thinking, are you selling chocolates? That's what I sounded like. I sounded like that go, are you selling chocolates? I remember the sweetest chocolate. I always hated it. All that. Like, that was exactly what happened after camp. Like, you knew that someone had an experience at camp because they had come back and their voice was gone. Number 6, that's kind of related to number 5, is the wonderful games that you would have there. The games could like range from something that's really normal, like ultimate frisbee, to something crazy and that doesn't make sense. Like, we had this one game, I remember this vividly. I think I was a monitor that year. So if y'all don't know, monitors were the workers that they kept track of, like, you know, trying to see the scores and trying to make sure that people were like following the rules. We were basically like the referees and scorekeepers for the games. Well, anyway, so that year I was that, and we had this one game where we, and this is gonna sound ridiculous to anyone with a brain, but we put like powdered paint inside of a sock. we got to hit people with them. We didn't hit them hard because, yo, those things packed a punch. Like, you know, like in like iCarly where like Sam pulled out like the butter sock. Like, that's a real thing. Like, that's a real like weapon. Like, that can mess somebody up. No joke. And so that was what we kind of figured out. But that was fun because it was like everyone had color all over them. I might have a picture of it. If I can find the picture of it, I'll put it in this video. But like there's videos of like, and pictures of people just like with paint all over their face and all over their body and everything, because it was just a crazy game, but it was pretty fun. Number 7 was also another one that was based off of how my experience was as a worker. So as a worker, one of the things that you got to do was you had this night before that you prepared yourself for the night of camp, for the first day of camp. And so it'd be this Sunday night, and you would basically be hanging out, and you'd be making sure that you're praying over the students and praying over the camp. But it was really cool just to be able to just pray with these people and just be able to just seek God together. It was always cool. And then always what was really cool after that is that after that there's this kind of thing where it's this tradition, you know, and I'm not even sure that we always need to do it, but we always just did. We would sit there and we'd be like, okay, we know our team color, all that. So then we'd be going to Walmart that night, and we'd be trying to find stuff for our team color, trying to find stuff that we could be able to use for our team, and all these different types of things. And then as we're going out and we're getting that, a lot of the times we'd be going out and getting food. And so you would get to go out and get food and just hang out with everyone else. And like, if y'all don't know, hanging out with people that like kind of believe the same way you do, it kind of like, I don't know, it does something different for you. Like, I've hung around a lot of people in my life, but like definitely when you're hanging around people that have similar beliefs as you, I know not all of them are like super as into it as some, and but like you can definitely like just tell the difference between like when everyone has similar ideas and beliefs. And it was always really fun just to be able to just hang out with those people and just see what their life is about, because a lot of the times you only see these people once a year, because a lot of these people, a lot of the people at my camp, they live in either West Virginia or like they live in like another part of Virginia that I'm not gonna go to on a regular basis, so I don't see them all the time. So it was just cool sometimes just to be able to see them, just hang out with them, just do some ridiculous stuff. Sometimes we would do some stuff that like, it would just like be like really dumb, but it would be really dumb and really fun. And so we'd have a good time. Number 8, one thing I do really miss about camp is like the late night stuff. Like, I miss these like late night hangouts, these late night conversations, these late night like just deep talks that you have with the students. Like, I always love that, like, because like they could range from being deep to like just like a bunch of dudes just farting and just deciding that they're gonna be ridiculous. Like, you didn't know what was gonna really happen, but it was always cool. Like, I'm a big like person of late night conversations. Like, those are legit. Like, late night conversations, they're usually pretty legit, like as long as you're not like a crazy person. But like the people that are like normal, man, especially like extroverts like me, like I love those late night conversations, because that's where you actually hear what people think, is when like they're like a little bit tired and a little bit loopy, but they just have these cool late night conversations that you can't really have unless you're spending unless you're on an overnight trip with somebody. Camp always had those moments because we would be up until usually around like 11, sometimes closer to midnight for camp, and it was just a thing that you got used to. Number 9 was like definitely the type of feeling that you just have when you come out of a worship set. So like camp is this thing where like, or at least how we do camp, is definitely a lot more free and a lot more I don't know, it's just a lot deeper. And you get into these like deeper worship seasons because there's nothing really to distract you, because they kind of tell you to take away your phone. They kind of tell you to take away the kids' phones and all. I mean, we don't actually usually take away their phones. We tell them not to get on it during the week. And so like they leave it in their cabin, or some of them leave it all the way at their house. Most of them don't. Most of them just leave it in their cabin. And so like, but like it gives the students, it gives both of you guys, like whether you're a leader or a student, it gives you time to be able to just connect with God, because a lot of the times we get really distracted by everything else that goes on, but like in those moments we can be able to have true moments of worship. And it was a really fun, and I really enjoyed them. I never came out of a worship set and said, you know what, I hated it. Like, you know, it was always that moment. And even though it was hot sometimes and you were sitting here trying to worship and it was hot, but like even in those moments you sit there and you had a really good time, like just getting into the presence of God. 10 is just kind of one of those things that is that like I don't think that I can really fully put into words, but there was just this feeling when you went to camp and when you went through it, is just that you definitely felt like there's something different. Like you go through and you like, you know what, I had a really fun time, but I didn't only have a fun time, I kind of feel different. Like I feel like a different weight to me. Now the thing that kind of sucked about 10 was that some of the times people let that, a lot of the times actually I should say, they let that feeling just kind of leave. And like after camp was over, they would just go on to back to doing whatever they did before. And a lot of the times they would go back to living whatever life they wanted to live. And I'm not saying that just for other people. That was the thing that I even did a lot of the times at camp. I didn't really change anything. I said, you know what, God, I'm going to give you my everything. But like then I didn't really do that. And that was kind of the sucky part of it, because sometimes you would have a great, empowering week, and then somebody else, like, they just seem like they just had a regular week, and they're back to doing whatever they did before right when they get back home. And so 10 is just, I don't know how to explain it. It's this weird feeling where it can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing, but it's definitely like you feel different when you leave the camp. And I've always felt that. I felt that more some years than other years. But definitely that's one thing I do miss. And I wish that my students were able to have that experience this year, because some of them have never been to camp before. I think they would really enjoy it. But one of the things about camp was that you kind of come through with like, you come in with a lot of weight, a lot of baggage, and then you usually come out feeling a lot different. And I definitely miss that. Like, I just miss that about camp. But either way, that's just me going down memory lane and going down the little rabbit hole that is my thought processes. But I just wanted to kind of talk about that because, like, I mean, I was just thinking about camp, and I've seen a lot of people sharing memories from camp. I do. I miss it. I miss doing camp. But, you know, hopefully we'll be able to get back to doing it next year. And even though we're not able to have camp, I think that God can still show up in your life and still do amazing things no matter where you're at. But I definitely think that camp is a whole different atmosphere that you can't really get anywhere else. And, you know, I mean, we can try to remake it, and we can try to do whatever we can. But even with what we're doing this year with the online camp, it won't be the same. And maybe that's the point. Maybe God doesn't want it to be the same. Maybe God wants it to be even better than it usually is. I don't know. But I know that God has a plan for it. But definitely camp is a thing that I don't know how to explain. It's just so different. But even though I'll miss it, I know I'll be able to get back to it next year. And I know I'll get to see all the camp friends that I know and love. And we'll get to have a good time. But thank you guys for watching this video and watching this kind of, like I said, rabbit hole that I kind of went through in my brain. But I just kind of wanted to talk about that because I just kind of was feeling that. And yeah, so thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Don't do anything crazy. I will see you guys tomorrow.